Okay, so the purpose of this video is to show you how to get this troubleshooter talking mechanism to work. So I'm going to show you step by step how to get yours in working order. Well, if you're going to rebuild your troubleshooter here, so first thing that you have to do is you have to take all the accessories off. So take all these things off, because first of all they're in their way. Secondly, you don't want to break them because they are expensive to replace, believe it or not. If there's a battery in there, take the battery out. Just put all that stuff aside. Now, what you're going to have to try to do here is this panel and this panel have to come out, but the only way you can get those out is to remove this, or actually not remove it, but it's just going to be hanging. You need to break the glue that's holding this part to this two halves over here. So usually they're not glued very well, so if you kind of get in there with a screwdriver, you can and just kind of pry up a little bit. Usually the glue will pop apart. But be careful. And don't worry if you like scratch it or something, because this part you really can't see, it's underneath. Just don't pry on something too much, because you don't want to crack something else. Can't quite get underneath this. So it's kind of tight. I know, it sounds a lot easier than doing it. I mean, once you get under there and you just kind of can get a little bit of it broken free, the rest of it will just come loose. It's just this one seemed to have been actually glued by somebody that was doing their job that day. There we go. Alright, you see how that just popped off once I got under there? Now I gotta get the other side. This side's being a little troublesome. I can see it bending. I'm trying not to break it. Ugh. Well, this does have to be out of the way to get this apart, but I'm going to try to see what I can get apart here anyway. Maybe if I can get it out with that on there, maybe I can break it free a little easier. Now you have to there's two tabs under here. So you kind of got to get it under here. Just enough. Sometimes two screwdrivers, it helps. There's one tab. Okay. Down here, got the one tab out. There's the other tab. Now there's the front cover, front panel. There. Now your front panel is off. All your buttons, it's all one piece under here. And then your little magic screen thingy here, which was not turning. And I can see it's not broken amazingly, but something is not grabbing. And the other one I had was broken. Oh, this should be a fairly easy fix then. So what we're going to do on this is, I'm going to kind of do what I did on the other one, but I'm going to do it a little slightly different. I'm going to put double-sided tape on this roller after I take this all apart. But I'm going to really take a lot of the stickiness off of it, so it's just enough so it's kind of gummy, where it'll grab this when you go to turn it. See how it's not doing anything when I'm turning it? It's supposed to change scenes like that. It's just like dried out or whatever. So we will fix that. And when you have everything off, you can, if you take this all apart, you can clean it up. I'd be really careful. You can break these little tabs that hold these rollers in, but that's the only way to get it apart and do what I'm trying to tell you. See, I think what actually this piece on here is probably like rubber, but it's like all kind of like shrunk and dried out. And when it was new, it was like a nice rubbery, where it would grab this and turn it easily. Now we do have another option. I have stuff called Rubber Renew. Now I might try maybe putting a little of that on there. Maybe that might gum it up enough too to get it to work. So maybe we'll try that first before we do the double-sided tape. But anyway, get that out of your way. Now you got to get this other part out. Now this piece is still stuck on there, and it's going to be a little difficult. Well, probably, maybe we can do it without taking that other side off and without taking this glue apart. Let's see if they've got enough wiring to actually just, oh, you may want to get this thing out of your way too, this little thing on the side. Let's see if we got enough. Maybe we can just work on it like this. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we can do it without taking that whole thing apart then. Because you see, you got wires attached to it, and I just kind of wanted to get most of this out of the way. Because last time I took it out through the bottom. But no, this works. We can do with this. It'll just be a little clumsy with this thing in the way here. So you've got 2 screws on this side here that hold this together. So you need to take those 2 screws out. They're Phillips head screws. So I'm going to go get a Phillips screwdriver. Now what you have in here is a little spring that keeps tension on the speaker. And you can take all this stuff, in fact you just dump the screws out because you're going to need them later. This just get out of the way, so it's it shouldn't be broken, because unless somebody was in there and was messing around with it, everything should be in good shape. If you need to clean something, you know, like get dust out of it, you know, now's the time to do it when you have it all apart. So here's your mechanism. Here's your problem right here. This motor, and there is a slight chance that the belt is shot, but usually they're okay. 99% of the time it's just this motor needs to be cleaned and oiled. See, this one looks pretty clean, so I don't think you even need to clean the record, but I'm going to try to get in there and clean the needle if I can. And then I'll show you how to get it back together. I'm trying to not make a huge mess with wires and stuff here. Because what you're doing when you're pulling this out is you're actually pulling the shaft off of the belt, and then you're going to have to reattach it. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to oil the motor first of all. Oil the shaft on the not too much oil on this bottom shaft because you don't want it to get on the belt, but you're going to have to put a little bit on there, and then oil it wherever you can, where you can see to get inside of it here, just to get a little bit of oil inside there and clean it a little bit. Or you can use contact cleaner. That's probably actually better. I just don't happen to have any handy at the moment. Or maybe I do. I'll have to go look. But once you do that, then you're going to want to put your battery back in. You don't have to power it with the battery, but it's just convenient that way. And there it goes. This little lever here is the switch that turns it on and off. Can you hear it? Now I'm going to oil it up so I can get it working properly. First I'll disconnect the power so I can do that. Okay, so here we are back working on this doodad here. So let's power this up. Motor going here. Oil it. Where else can we get oil in this thing? Not very oil friendly. This does seem a bit sluggish. I think going to clean these contacts here. I don't know so much that there's a problem, but it could be just the slightest bit of corrosion. Seems to be working pretty good now. So now the next step, you could take this apart, but I don't think that's really necessary. I don't see any dirt in there at all. The record's not dirty, but I am going to clean the needle. Basically just going to run this Q-tip with lighter fluid over the needle here to just clean out any like little dirt if there's some in there. I mean, nothing's coming off, so it's probably fine. Alright, so now the next step is you have to get this motor back in. Now don't forget your little washer. And on this, there's little ridges on it, and they were facing towards the motor. So that's the way I'm going to put it back in. But before you do that, grab like a screwdriver or pick or something, and you have to get the belt. It's around the record in the middle rim of the record. So you have to dig the belt out of there carefully. You don't want to damage it. And get your tool between the belt and the record. Like, I don't know if you can see this, but see if I can zoom in here a little bit. Get your tool and pull this. The belt's white, that's why it's kind of hard to see. So what you're going to want to do is, there's a little loop that kind of if you see here on the other side, opposite of the record, there's a little loop that sticks out of the post. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull that belt and you're going to hook it up over the top of that loop. And I'll try to show you that when I get it on there. Alright, can you see that? See how the belt is running up over that little plastic loop? That's so you can get the motor down in there without fighting it. So now, you put your washer on, take your motor. If you broke any wires, repair them. Put it right back down in there where it was. Like that. Now, you got to get your cap and everything back on. And you got to run the wires. I'll show you if you don't remember. There's these two little notches in the cap here. One on this side and there's one on the other side opposite. And your wires come out through there. Now make sure that you run them so they're not interfering with anything. Okay, then you're going to have to put this speaker back on. It just sits on these two little things here. Make sure you didn't lose the spring in here. And place this back on carefully. Sure your wires are coming out the notches. Okay, like that. Now take your two screws that you had removed. Now, on the bottom, if you look through here, down through this hole, you can see the bottom shaft of the motor and the belt running close to it. So what you're going to do is, all you're going to do is you're going to reach down in there with the screwdriver and you're just going to push on the belt and it pops off of that thing and back onto the shaft. And that's how you do it. Now these don't need any like greasing or anything if they're working good. So there's really no need to take that apart. So now it should actually function now. Now there's an adjustment on the bottom to make it go faster or slower. So I believe it goes all the way around, so I'm not sure. Let me just double check. Yeah, I think it's like a rheostat. It could even be dirty. I'm going to move it around a few times to kind of clean it off. Let's put it to fast and see what happens.
Gijoe in danger. It's radioactive. Get the mobile support. It's radioactive. Get the mobile support.
I guess it's still finding its way because my other one will play perfectly for each one. So this may still need a little of just running to get used to it. Sometimes mine will do that when it first started out. It'll play the same one a couple of times until it runs a few times, and then it'll work perfect each time.
Emergency at Spy Island. Send help. Radio your position. Hunters on the way. I found the mummy's tomb. Send the ATV. G.I. Joe in danger. G.I. Joe in danger. It's radioactive. Get the mobile support. G.I. Joe in danger. It's radioactive. Get the mobile support. 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 G.I. Joe in danger.
All right. So anyway, it seems to be functioning pretty well. And it doesn't sound like it's too fast or anything like that. So I'm going to put it back together. And maybe when it gets in its position and it's sitting exactly how it's designed to function, it might work a little better. Because I noticed that when I moved it a couple times that that affected it. So that might have something to do with it as well. And this one does seem to be just a little finicky, like that motor. Maybe I should have taken it completely apart and oiled that bottom bearing, but I didn't want to break it because it did seem to be working. So now let's put it back together. Oh, but before we do that, well, we can put this part in. It sits on two tabs on that other cover back there. So that's the proper position when it's in the thing there. But what else we have to do is we have to fix this thing. So first thing you're going to want to do for that, you're going to want to gently pop off this axle shaft. And I'm hoping it doesn't break. So far so good. Yeah, no problem. Now sometimes these little things will be broken. Usually get this out of the way so I can show you. Usually here at the seam. This one seems to be in good shape. It doesn't have any tears and it doesn't look like it's about to break. But there is you can fix those if they break. You can just like tape it from the back side with some strong tape. And that usually is good enough. I'll put that back in. Alright, so now this here, this has a rubbery feel to it. Now I have this stuff, it's rubber renew. I'm wondering if it would work on this. The stuff is horrible smelling though, and I'm going to try this. It's called Rubber Renew. Now I did use it on one of these treads for my Zeroid, and it didn't seem to, I mean maybe these aren't rubber, I don't know. It didn't seem to do a whole lot to it, but I just put a little bit on, so I'm going to try doing it again on this. And also, I did it on a rubber idler wheel on a stereo that I just was working on, and it seemed to work on that pretty good though. So I mean, well, because I know that's actual rubber. So I'm going to go outside because this stuff smells awful, and I'm going to apply it to this and see what happens. Okay, so I'm back. I put that stuff, that rubber renew on this, and man, it feels nice and tacky. Well, I mean, it's not tacky, but I mean, it actually feels rubbery again. So that might have worked. I mean, I guess we could try it and see what happens. If it doesn't work, we'll go to plan B. Well, I'll be damned. Look at that. Just like new. Wow. That was easy. Now hopefully that will last. Guess we'll see what happens. I don't think it's really necessary to grease these shafts. It seems to work fine. It's not like binding up or anything. I think we're good there. Alright, so now we're going to put the rest of this back together again. So you're going to want to put the top part in. Okay, so you're going to want to kind of put it flat so that the buttons are kind of lined up and it's like, looks like it's almost in, but it's not. Then kind of do the opposite of how you took it out. I'm going to give this a little pry here. Now you got that part in. Now just get this part in. This part's easier. Make sure your little thing down here is out of the way. Okay, that's in. Now, you could just leave this like this. It's not going to hurt anything, where you pried the little cover off of this. Oh, also, if you need to clean this, there's little tabs on the back, like kind of like one of those little push-in with the two little clips that come apart. So just kind of squeeze them in while you push from the back, and this should pop out. I haven't had to do that, but you know, if you're having trouble with adjusting the speed and it's dirty, you can clean that. It's probably a spring in there with a little wiper. You could also try spraying some contact cleaner in there. But it seems to be working fine, so I'm not going to mess with that. So, but if you want to, you can glue this down with some like model glue or something. It'll seal it back up like original. Or you can, like I say, you can just leave it. It's not going anywhere. This isn't even really dirty, so it doesn't. I don't see any need to really even clean this one. Put your thing back in there. you'd want to put make sure your battery terminal spring is in good position. And another thing is, on this, you can reach underneath and kind of push the battery or hold it so it doesn't go out of place when you push it. So make sure you get a good contact on the battery. So now let's see what happens. Let's see if it'll actually work where it's supposed to. So let's go to picture number 1. And they call that the hotline. And that's the one that goes beep, beep, beep. So let's see what happens. Okay, let's switch. And it'll work without switching to pictures, by the way. That's just something for you to play with while you're a kid. I think they go this way. Yeah, 2 is Africa. That should be the Mummy's Tomb one.
I found the Mummy's Tomb, 78 TD.
3 is the Arctic. I forget what that one says, but I think I'll know when I hear it if it's right.
Radio your position. Counter's on the way.
Yeah, I think that's correct. 4 is Code X7. That's the Spy Island one, I believe. That's here.
Rough terrain. Sent by rocket pack.
I don't think that's right. Let me try it again.
Emergency at Spy Island.
That's
Send
right.
help.
Emergency at Spy Island. See, sometimes it's a mechanical toy. It's not perfect. Okay, so now we go to number 5. I think that was the rocket pack one.
It's radioactive. Get the mobile support.
That's wrong.
It's radioactive. Get the mobile support. Rough terrain. Sent by rocket pack.
That's correct. It does seem to be going a little slow, though. And finally, whoops. This is the radioactive one, the number 6, Burma.
It's radioactive. Get the mobile support.
Yeah, so there you go. And it works. I've noticed on my other one, if you push it firmly, 90% of the time it will play the correct one.
G.I. Joe in danger.
So that's how you fix your Troubleshooter, whatever the hell this thing's called. So thank you for watching, and subscribe if you like these videos. And you can also look at us on Facebook. I apologize for the dirty nails. I was working on some stuff and I forgot to clean my nails before I finished this video. So I'm not a piggy. We'll see you later.